The next generation of the Audi Q3 is finally here, but don't be fooled by its entry-level pricing, because in the interior of this car, as well as on the exterior and a little bit under the hood, you're going to find a lot of really cool technologies and standard features that you're not going to find in competition from manufacturers like BMW or Mercedes. So in today's video, I'm going to explain to you guys why I think this is the best entry-level SUV you can buy today, as well as walk you through the exterior and interior features, the powertrain and performance specs before finally taking it on an extensive test drive. So let's get right into the video. Now, before we hop into that beautiful standard leather interior, I wanted to take a quick moment to show you guys around some of the exterior things you get on the 2019 Q3, because it's actually really fascinating. One of the standard features they've added for 2019 are these standard LED Audi high beam assist headlights. Now, what is high beam assist? Well, it's this brand new technology that Audi is starting to put in even their entry-level SUVs, and it essentially works by using sensors on the front of the car to detect when a car is coming in the oncoming lane, and then it will automatically turn the high beam down so as not to blind them. So when you're all alone on the open road at night, the lights are on at full brightness, but when someone's coming towards you and you don't want to blind them and cause an accident, it'll automatically turn itself down, which is a really cool technology that's going to help not only with the safety ratings of this car, but also just makes it really cool. A few other small things have changed on the front fascia of this car. It still comes with the standard Audi single frame grille. That's what they call it. It's featured on pretty much every Audi and has been for about a decade. And it gives the brand a unique look from the front end, instantly recognizable as an Audi. But what's new for 2019 are these larger vents down here, as well as this somewhat dark, plasticky, chrome type trim piece that extends across the entire front fascia. And that strip is going to end here in a couple very large side vents. Now, obviously this is an S Line Q3, so it's a lot larger than it would be on the base model to make it look a bit more aggressive, but unfortunately they still aren't functional at all. It's essentially just a big air dam that's going to stop the flow of wind at the front of the car and really reduce aerodynamics and fuel economy, but it does look pretty cool, so I think it can be forgiven. On the side of the car, you might not find any cool technologies like high beam assist, but you will find available 18 or 19-inch wheels, chrome outline around the windows, and obviously that optional S Line badge. And just like the front end of the Q3, the rear of the car has received a slight update as well. It still looks pretty similar to the previous generation, so don't worry, still gorgeous and clean and smooth and modern like every Audi, but you have received a few small, nice standard features such as LED taillights, a power liftgate, and a new feature for 2019, which is this very large matte black rear diffuser. And this also features some fake exhaust tips. You're supposed to think that the exhaust fumes are going to come out these holes right here, when in fact they don't. It is non-functional piece, but it does add a very aggressive flair to the rear end of the S Line, and all around makes for a much more good-looking car, in my personal opinion. If you've been around on my YouTube channel for any length of time, you'll know that I always try to be as honest as physically possible with literally any car I ever review. So even though I'm a huge fan of Audi and I think they're one of the best luxury manufacturers out there, I will admit that I'm not entirely impressed with the new engine they put in the 2019 Q3. It's just a little bit boring, especially coming from the last Audi I drove, the new e-tron with its all-electric powertrain, going 0 to 60 in just over 5 seconds. Coming here to the Q3 now, it's just a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with 228 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, an 8-speed single-clutch automatic transmission, and standard quattro all-wheel drive. So there's nothing wrong with the drivetrain in the new Q3, but there's nothing really exciting about it either. No new technology, no insane amount of torque. It's just your average powertrain. Which makes sense because this is an entry-level Audi SUV. You're not paying the big bucks like you would for a new Q8 or the e-tron, so it's understandable that they would put a regular powertrain in a regular entry-level model. I was just hoping for something a little bit more exciting. All right, finally the time has come to check out the interior of the latest generation Q3. Obviously, it's been completely redesigned with new technology, new standard features, new materials, and all around, I think they did a pretty dang good job with it. You're going to find a lot of really cool standard features in here, such as the 8-way power adjustable heated driver's seat, the standard panoramic sunroof that stretches from the front seats all the way to the back, but is currently covered up because it's around 95 degrees here in Florida. You've also got a standard leather-wrapped 3-spoke or 3.5, 4-spoke Audi steering wheel Not exactly sure if you would count this as 1 or 2 spokes, but it doesn't really matter because it's a great design. I especially like the chrome accent piece they put around on the horn button that really reflects the styling in the front end of the car with that Audi single frame grille I mentioned. So it's a really uniform design throughout the interior and the exterior of this car, and that really shows attention to detail. So even in the base model, you're gonna find a really solid amount of features that make this a good competitor to BMWs and Mercedes entry-level SUVs. But this is an S Line Q3, so not only do we have those standard features, we also have quite a few cost extra options, such as the available wireless charging. Here on the center console area, there's a little bit of a padded box area. If you want to charge your phone, you don't have to mess around with those 2 USB charge ports. All you got to do is take your phone and slap it right down in that box, and it'll automatically start charging for you. Now, just above that, you're going to find the Drive Select button, and what that's going to do is help you cycle between the different drive modes in this car. Obviously, it's an Audi, so we have insane amounts of technology, probably an adjustable suspension system. I already mentioned the all-wheel drive. So they're really offering a customizable way to decide how you want the Q3 to feel when you're driving it. So there's 5 available drive modes. You've got off-road, individual, which is kind of a customizable drive mode, as well as comfort, auto, and dynamic, which is going to help essentially be a sport mode for the car, help the throttle be a little bit more sensitive, and make the car feel peppier overall. So we're going to get into that a little bit more on the test drive, but again, moving up along the center console area, you're also going to find a standard 8.8-inch infotainment touchscreen that comes standard with the Audi MMI touch-sensitive feedback system. Now, if you don't know what MMI is, you might want to go back and watch my review of the Audi A8 because it's a really cool technology that makes this screen feel even better than your phone screen, because when you tap on it, a specific button on the touchscreen, it's going to provide a little bit of a response. So the screen is going to kind of vibrate or click back, and it feels like you're touching physical buttons even though you're only pressing on a screen. So that's a really cool thing to have. Also, standard Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all the standard software features that allow you to connect your phone to the system. And if it's still not good enough for you, which I don't know why it wouldn't be, but if it's not, you can also pay extra to upgrade it to a 10.1-inch screen. Audi is just as much a tech company as they are a car company, kind of similar to Tesla. So you're getting the top of the line and the best in terms of the infotainment and the screens in this car. And speaking of screens, there's also a digital gauge cluster. In the standard car, it is just a 10.25-inch screen, but again, it is available to have an upgrade to 12.3 inches, and they call that one the Audi Virtual Cockpit because it displays literally everything you need to know, whether it's Google Maps satellite view or your speedometer and tachometer, and it's customizable and just one of the coolest digital gauge cluster systems I've seen in quite a long time. But before you think that I'm just turning into a fanboy for Audi and I have nothing bad to say about this interior, there are 2 things that I have very small complaints about. First of all, I do want to complain about the materials. Yes, it does come with a standard leather interior, but it's a slightly tough leather, not nearly as nice as what you'd find in an Audi A8 or an Audi Q8 or an Audi e-tron or anything like that. It's a little bit tough here on the seats, and along the center console area, it's more of a rubberized, plasticky material. Plus, you've got gloss black here underneath the gauge cluster, which is not a big deal because you're not going to be touching things back there quite as often. But as you can see, this car is brand new, literally has 1 mile on it, which was probably me, and it already has dust collecting on it. So gloss black, not a big fan of that. And my other small complaint comes in with the side mirror adjustment. So when you get in the car and you're adjusting all your stuff, it is a little bit difficult to adjust the side mirrors because the little knob to control it is located down here, kind of crammed underneath the door grab handle. So it's a little bit difficult to get to and adjust the mirrors. But those are very small complaints in general that don't really take away too much from this fantastic interior. All right, we're gonna make the second row of the 2019 Q3 a very quick segment because I know a lot of you are anxious to see me get in and test drive this car. We will in just a minute, but first there are some important things to know about the rear seats. First of all, they feature a very similar design to the front, same leather material, same basic shape and layout, so there's plenty of headroom and legroom. They're very comfortable once you're in them, and it's easy to get in and out of as well. However, I do have 2 complaints back here. Just like the front, there were 2 complaints up there, 2 complaints back here as well. First of all, we've got more gloss black here around these 2 climate vents. And second of all, we've got hard plastics all over here. And there were some of the front as well that I didn't mention, but it's really prolific black plastics back here. On the back of the seat, hard plastic, not comfortable at all. And also on the door panel, we've got more cheap feeling hard plastics. And yes, this is a somewhat off-road capable vehicle. And yes, you're probably gonna have kids back here, so you want it to be pretty easy to clean the lower portion of this car and these materials down here. But it is still a little bit disappointing. If you go over to a Q8 or an e-tron, I believe those have leather all along the door panel, and it really helps the interior be not only quieter because it acts as sound deadening, but also just more luxurious in general because it's softer. But other than those two small complaints, the rear area of the Q3 is fantastic, very comfortable, good amount of climate vents, and there's plenty of space in the rear power liftgate as well. Plus, you can also fold this second row seat down for even more storage area. But that's enough babbling. I think it's finally time we hop into the driver's seat and go on that full test drive. Now, like all modern cars, obviously the Q3 does come with a wireless key fob, so it's a push button start system. But I wanted to point this out because they have redesigned the key, giving it a much harder casing, so it's not going to scratch or dent nearly as easily as their old keys did, because that was a major complaint I had with the brand. Well, it's a lot tougher now and more ready to go off-roading. But anyway, let's go ahead and start this car up and go for a drive. All right, starting out on the road with the new 2019 Q3. I did already drive this car briefly to get over here when I was doing the review, and I gotta say, it's just like every other Audi SUV out there, which is a really good thing. It's soft, and it's quiet, and it's comfortable, and it's extremely luxurious. It's a very soft ride. It does have an adaptive suspension system, I was able to confirm, so that is adjusted somewhat through the drive modes of the car. But in terms of like how much fun it is to drive and the dynamics, it's got that too. Like I said, Audi does a fantastic job with their cars, and the general driving experience is one of the reasons I love the brand so much. The steering wheel is very comfortable to hold. The throttle pedal has just the right amount of sensitivity here in dynamic mode, and it's just all around a genuine, pleasant car to drive. This is a pretty rough road I'm on back here, but the suspension is handling it perfectly. There's no issues whatsoever. The transmission is not a special CVT or dual clutch or any sort of new tech like that. It's just, you know, your regular 8-speed automatic transmission, but it works very well. It shifts softly and smoothly. I'm not noticing any jerks when I start or stop, which is very good. It's super easy to maneuver as well, even easier than the Q8 and the e-tron because it's obviously a smaller car. Going over some speed bumps here, takes it perfectly. We're gonna go around this turn here and then give it a little bit of gas. Unfortunately, there aren't paddle shifters, so it's not quite as engaging to drive, but let's see how it accelerates. Yeah, it's not fast. You know, like I said, the powertrain is a little bit dull, 228 horsepower, so even with that 8-speed and the all-wheel drive, it's not a particularly fast car. That's why I was kind of complaining about it. I was a little bit hoping for a little bit of a hybrid assistance like they have in the new A8. That doesn't look like a fast car, but it's insanely fast because of all the hybrid technology they have in there. So I was kind of hoping for a little bit more peppiness from this car, especially here in dynamic mode. But again, entry-level SUV, it's at least on par with the competition, if not a little bit better. If you want to check out some reviews I've done of similar cars or even other Audi models, make sure to click on one of the video cards on the screen right there, or go ahead and check out my channel. I've reviewed pretty much everything under the sun. I'd also like to extend a huge shout out and special thanks to Crown Audi of Clearwater for allowing me to review this Q3 today, and I'm extremely grateful for that. So there's going to be a link to their inventory below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching.